Of all the things that have been neglected and left out of my life since I became a mom, sleep is not one of them. I am so much better at sleeping now than I used to be. I know it's supposed to be the opposite. I know there were supposed to be sleepless nights, but that is not how my life worked out. This might be a backwards tale of how to get sleep. We'll see. I was really bad at sleeping when I was a little girl. I had nightmares and night terrors, and a combination of type A personality and burgeoning anxiety caused me to not be able to sleep too well. I can't remember a time that sleep came easily for me, and I remember specifically when that turned into insomnia and fear. And it was around adolescence. I had a cold, and the medicine that we got to treat my cold, my body had an anxiety-ridden reaction to it. I don't know if it was the medication itself, but I was sleepwalking whilst on said medication. So that was like 12, I think. And after that, I was just deathly afraid of sleeping because I didn't want to ever sleepwalk again. I started taking on more and more theater projects because I really, really loved theater. And when I was 14, I didn't sleep for about a month. Now, of course I slept, but I didn't sleep well for about a month, and I was known as a nerd. Anyway, I got a really bad grade on a test, an F. I got an F on my Romeo and Juliet test, and I told my teacher, I just haven't been sleeping. She was really, really nice, and she let me take the test again. And I did better, but not great, because I couldn't like read it. I couldn't read during that time period. I didn't understand the words, and I didn't have dyslexia or a learning disorder. I just couldn't sleep. So I really never discovered what the issue was. In my 20s, I had problems with sleep apnea. No, I think that started at school. Yeah, I was really homesick when I went to college. It was too far away from home, and the seasons were too different, and the atmosphere was too different for me. So I was super, super homesick, and it presented as a kind of depression, and I couldn't sleep then either. One of the things that really made me afraid, sleep paralysis, where I would feel like I couldn't move before I woke up when I was a teenager, but then it turned into sleep apnea because like different allergens and stuff in the air where I went to school, and I couldn't breathe. So like my sleep issues got more varied, and obviously I still slept enough to survive, but these were all terrible issues to have as a young Rachel, and I'll tell you how I got over them. You won't believe it, strange as it sounds, extraordinary magic follows you around, and the camera can't catch it. You won't see it in the view. If I say look behind you, you turn around, it disappears. But I see it, I see it, I swear I do, I see extraordinary magic in you. Where is it? Out of thin air, you appeared in my life like a burst of technicolor in a world of black and white. When my heart was locked inside a box, you looked inside, and now I see my future when I look into your eyes. I see it, I swear I do, I see extraordinary magic in you. Okay, so now I get to talk about a fun thing, how my insomnia was cured. Was pregnant with my son. Every day felt like I had the stomach flu. So that went on for 9 months. And then I started going into labor. My husband drove me to the hospital as quickly as possible. I had started having contractions in the car, and that was surprising how strong those were. Okay, so epidural. Let's talk about epidural. Let's do this quickly, because they were getting worse, the contractions. And finally I got it, and everything was fine for 12 hours. There were 11 more hours after that wherein I did not feel like they had given me drugs of any kind. And they kept saying, oh, you still got the epidural, we're giving you the same amount of drugs, or I don't know, like they give you a button to push, and I was like pushing that all the time. But anyway, so 12 hours of no pain and 11 hours of, I can't even describe. 23 hours after I had started labor, my son was born. And first of all, there was this profound sense of bodily relief. I had been having acid reflux, and I had just so much pressure on my lower rib cage and what seemed like my upper rib cage, like just pressure everywhere. No more pressure. I felt like, especially after they put him on my chest, I felt so finished. And the echo of that feeling of being done, accomplishing this huge purpose, this huge goal, has stayed with me ever since. And I no longer have trouble sleeping. I no longer have the anxiety that I experienced my entire life. The anxiety of watching the clock, knowing that I need to get rest, knowing that I don't want to go to sleep because I will have nightmares, or because I will have some sort of sleep disruption. None of that has bothered me since then. I'm finished. But that feeling never went away, and it is just profoundly and positively affected my sleep. And even when I wasn't getting much sleep because I was nursing my babies, or cleaning up after one of them in the middle of the night, or helping them sleep in the middle of the night, I don't worry about going to sleep. I guess that was my problem all along, the going to sleep part. I don't care if I wake up in the middle of the night, because then I can go back to sleep. It's great. In hindsight, here's what happened. I didn't have caffeine for 9 months. And then I didn't really have caffeine much after the kids. I'm not addicted to it anymore, so why addict myself again? Especially if it's going to disrupt my sleep. Oh, there have been instances where I have had caffeine and it completely disrupted my sleep. And then there's all that old pain and anxiety again. I don't want that. And then I think back to how much I used to drink Diet Coke. Super accessible for me. And when I was in my teens and we would go to a restaurant, I would just order a Diet Coke and just keep it flowing. No matter what time of day it was. After shows, like late at night sometimes, I just like the taste of it. I wasn't thinking about the caffeine content because I was like, oh, caffeine doesn't affect me. Except I couldn't sleep for my whole life. So yeah, it does. And I'm sure my anxiety didn't help either. I'm sure the caffeine didn't help my anxiety. As we learned in the nutrition section, I also had trouble with dairy, which was preventing me from breathing properly. That went away when I started finding nutrition. So I had already had this big relief of anxiety relating to sleep, this big change where I wasn't drinking caffeine anymore, and then the discovery that dairy was making me congested. Just the trifecta of those things relief from fear by having my son. Thank you, son. No caffeine, no dairy. I sleep now. My daughter is staring at me with her kitty in her hand. She's so cute.